Welcome, everyone. My name is Beth Herzig, and I want to welcome everyone to the Buddhist Recovery Network Academy. I'm joining you, like I said, from a very brisk, blustering bluff in Sewanee, Tennessee today, and I'll be your host. I'm with the Buddhist Recovery Network. I'm the admin coordinator for Buddhist Recovery Network, and I also help facilitate a weekly recovery dharma meeting. I'm in recovery, and I am also the executive director of an organization called Flowering Lotus Meditation. Today we have Susanna, who is our usual host, doing tech. So we switched places on you. And I just want to say thank you to Susanna for asking me to step in, and we hope that your voice feels better and heals soon. Today we have a teaching that's offered by our Academy teacher, Ryuko Laura Burges. She's been a teacher for us before, and so we're really happy to have her back. And the topic of the teaching is living in vow. Just to make sure that you're aware, this format for today is 60 minutes long. We'll start with a meditation and then a teaching by Laura. And then if we have time, a Q&A. We do offer all our teachings freely. We offer the Zoom link, and we also ask if you want to give dana in advance. So I just want to say thank you to everyone who has already done that. We really appreciate you. We're blessed with some really amazing teachers who have the experience of practice on the cushion, experience working with the body, speech, and mind, and experience in the ongoing practice of recovery by way of the Dharma. And as we practice the Buddha's teaching of generosity, we invite you to give dana. If you haven't already, the dana that we receive will be given to Buddhist Recovery Network to support the work that we do in the world, and also to support our teacher today. You can give a one-time donation and even a recurring donation that helps to sustain our programming. You can use the link posted in the chat field, and we sincerely thank you for your generosity of being here and giving dana if you're able. I'd like to introduce our guest teacher. Ryuko Laura Burges is a lay entrusted dharma teacher in the Soto Zen tradition. Teaching and leading retreats in California mostly. She received her monastic training at the Tassajara Zen Mountain Center. A longtime educator, Laura co-founded the meditation and recovery programs at San Francisco Zen Center. And she's been featured in publications such as Tricycle Magazine and Buddhadharma. And her books also include Wisdom Stories of Tibet, which was just published last year. Congratulations. And it's the first volume in a 3-part series that will also feature wisdom stories from India and Japan. Other titles from Shambhala Publications are The Zen Way of Recovery, An Illuminated Path Out of Darkness from Addiction, and Zen for Kids, and also Buddhist Stories for Kids. Today, the teaching called Living Vow is bringing together the Bodhisattva vow and metta practice. To quote the Bodhisattva vow, I vow to live and be lived for the benefit of all beings. In this session, we will be considering what it means to live in vow, finding ourselves in bewildering times in the world around us. We're swirling with discord and disruption. We can return to our deepest intention to live our Buddhist way. Combining the teachings of Buddhism with the principles of recovery, Laura will teach us how we can create a life of vow that is grounded in community. Please join me in welcoming Ryuko. I'm not going to get it right. Sorry. Ryuko Laura Burges. I'm sorry, I was stammering over that. Thank you so much, Laura, for being here. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Beth. And how wonderful to see all of you here this morning to practice the way together. This is such an unsettling time in our history, and if we can come together and feel our collective intention to live an awakened and sober life, we take that back out into the world. So we'll begin today with a guided meditation. We're going to sit for 15 minutes. And I'm going to be speaking at the beginning of the meditation to kind of guide your attention. And what I'll be doing is saying some phrases, and I'd like you to hold these phrases in your mind and heart, and then gently let them go. And then the remainder of the time we'll be sitting in silence. So find a comfortable position, and that includes taking care of your own body. Some of you may feel a need to lie down or, find a posture that's comfortable for you for that amount of time. So we're going to start right now. Let's begin by taking a few deep breaths together. It's helpful to sit in an upright position if that's comfortable for you. Rolling the shoulders back. I think of this as opening the heart area so that we're open to receive the teachings today. Your hands can be in your lap, on your thighs. In Zen Buddhism, we practice with our left hand resting in our right palm, with our thumb tips lightly touching. And this creates a beautiful oval in where the thumbs touch. Take some deep breaths and feel as if that breath is extending to the farthest reaches of your body. I choose to enjoy this moment. I feel the air flowing in and out of my body. I also feel the movements in my chest and belly as I breathe. I am aware of my whole body at once, here in this present moment. I am ready to experience the feelings in my heart. I let go of all my stress and worries and feel peaceful inside. I honor and love myself just as I am. I am open to receive. I feel connected with my source. I am here to serve, to love, to prosper, and to enjoy myself. I am ready to act with courage and integrity. I choose to enjoy this moment. Our highest power is as close as our breath. Conscious awareness of its presence strengthens us moment by moment. The past is gone. The present is full of possibilities. May we be aware of the strength at hand. Welcome back. You know, there's so much suffering in the world today, suffering all over the world, the suffering of poverty, of racism, of homophobia, of transphobia. And Buddha called this ignorance, you know, that if we really understood how we harm ourselves with our ignorant prejudices and behaviors, we would turn in a different direction. And I think it's very normal sitting together today to maybe ask ourselves, why are we doing this? You know, what is the point of sitting here following our breath when the world is on fire? But, you know, when I stepped into the rooms of recovery, I found a power greater than myself. And it was the power of the collective intention that I felt with other people to stay sober one day at a time. And when we come together like this as Buddhists and as people in recovery, we accrue a kind of a merit and intention and power that then we take back into the world. You know, I taught kids for many years, and anybody who thinks childhood is a cloudy wonderland has forgotten their own childhood. In the morning, I would shake my kids' hands at the door and say, "How's your little brother? I like your t-shirt." And one day I shook this little girl's hand and I said, "How are you doing today?" And she said, "My life is a barren wasteland." I mean, she was 8 years old, you know. And so I kept an eye on her that day and had some gentle time with her. So suffering is part of our life as a human being. King Lear says, "We come crying hither. Thou knowest from the first we smell the air, we wail and cry." Well, the Buddha said that he taught about suffering and about an end to suffering. And so anytime we spend together as Buddhists and as people in recovery, we are helping to bring some peace and love into the world. In the Metta Sutta, the loving kindness meditation, it says one should suffuse love over the entire world, above, below, and all around without limit. Having that kind of thought in mind is living in vow. And these are such crazy, unsettling times. And I think a lot of us are working to find some kind of equanimity, some kind of peace, to find a way to be engaged in the world while at the same time not being overwhelmed by it. Another line in the Metta Sutta, the loving kindness meditation, is, "Let one not be submerged by the things of the world." And I find that one way towards equanimity, towards not being submerged by the things of the world, is to find out what it means to be true to ourselves. On our recovery medals, it says, "To thine own self be true." That's from Hamlet, you know, that "to thine own self be true." And if you're true to yourself, then you can be true to other people as well. What does it mean to be true to ourselves? Bonnie Ware is an author I've discovered, and she has spent time with people who are dying in hospice situations. She's not a doctor or an official person, but she enjoys being with people at the end of their lives. And over time, she noticed when she would ask people if they had any regrets, that she would see a similar theme emerging time after time. And the most common regret, and Ware says that in working with dying people, she heard this over and over again. she heard people say, "I wish I had been true to myself instead of trying to do what other people expected of me." Now, if you're with us today, you have struggled with addiction, and you've probably come to the realization, the enlightenment, really, it's an enlightenment, that we cannot have dignity or integrity and be active in addiction. We can't be true to ourselves or to anybody else if we're active in addiction, because in addiction there is no integrity, there is no dignity. When we start to learn about Buddhism, we learn about what Buddha called the three poisons: greed, hatred, and delusion. And these poisons are so active in addiction. You know, the word intoxicate means to bring poison in, to intoxicate. So greed, hate, and delusion, we've experienced the insatiable greed of addiction. One is too many and 1,000 isn't enough. We all know that feeling. Hatred, many of us in our addiction harbor deeply held resentments, blaming other people for our own shortcomings. And when I came into the rooms of recovery and I heard about resentment, I thought, wow, I'm really glad I don't have that. And then, I also heard more will be revealed. The very first drink that I took was out of resentment and hatred. And then delusion. We all know about the delusions of addiction. Thank you, Beth, for mentioning my book, The Zen Way of Recovery. I should have a copy right here, but I don't. The first words in my book are, Buddhism didn't cure my alcoholism. But once I had a grounding in recovery, I began to see that I could move closer to being true to myself by turning towards living in vow, as we learn, in Buddhism. And the definition of vow is simply to make a solemn promise. To make a solemn promise. And I find that when everything feels upside down, when the world is topsy-turvy, a wonderful thing we can do to ease our heart and mind and feel that we can be of use in the world, really, is to live with integrity and courage and hope. And these are the things that our practice and recovery instill in us. No matter what's going on around us, we can cultivate those things. We don't live in vow to feel good about ourselves, but to be of service to others. My first experience with vow, I think, was the Bluebird Wish. I don't know if any of you were campfire girls when you were little, but it's kind of like the Girl Scouts, but maybe a little less militaristic. But and the campfire girls, they did all this faux Native American stuff, which is probably not so current today. But before you fly up to be a campfire girl, you're a bluebird, and you take the Bluebird Wish, and this is the Bluebird Wish: to have fun, to learn to make beautiful things, to remember to finish what I begin, to try to keep my temper most of the time, to learn about trees and flowers and birds, and to make friends. Now, the fact that I remember this after all these years, tells you that I did really, thank you, Chris. I did take these into my heart, and I'm not kidding about this, but looking back, I really feel like I have lived the Bluebird Wish. And I still think it's a pretty good prescription for life. And I love that anger clause, to try to keep my temper most of the time. So that, I think that's pretty realistic. And when we take the precepts and receive our Buddhist name, we affirm the Bodhisattva vow to live and be lived for the benefit of all beings. This is the Bodhisattva vow, to live and be lived for the benefit of all beings. We don't go around calling ourselves bodhisattvas, but we do try to live this vow and find ways to be of service in the world. The bodhisattva vow can be a kind of light in the darkness, a reminder that we have value in the world. We have something to offer others. And this is something we find out our first day in recovery, that no matter how far down we've gone, we have the experience to benefit other people. we have the opportunity in recovery to tell our stories to other suffering people, our story of addiction and redemption. I think if we all just sat around talking about when we were loaded, we wouldn't feel any kind of transformation from that. But when somebody's telling their story and they come to that point in the road where they take another direction, my own sobriety is renewed in that moment. And I know I belong here as well. I heard a story yesterday from a man whose story was so different than mine. He'd been in jail, he'd been convicted of felonies. That didn't happen to me. But, I drove drunk many, many times. And I just didn't get caught. And I heard when I came in the rooms to learn about the yets, things that haven't happened yet. It doesn't mean they wouldn't happen if I hadn't continued to drink. So the service we can do in meetings, making coffee, putting chairs away, sponsoring others, this is just such a really vital and obvious way to benefit all beings and to heal the damage done by addiction, to heal the ancient twisted karma, of familial addiction that tends to run through families. I felt so fortunate with my brother, to be able to end the chains of addiction that go in our family on both sides back to Ireland. And when I visited Ireland and went to a meeting, the speaker hadn't showed up and they asked me to tell my story. And it meant so much for me to tell my story on Irish soil. So I want to be in the rooms of recovery to make sure that they are there for people who come after me. No matter what kind of work we do in the world, we can benefit others. There used to be a bus driver in San Francisco, and he drove the 22 Fillmore line. And I don't know his name, but everybody who got on his bus felt better because he had a smile for everybody, corny jokes. He would sing gospel songs on the bus and, play peekaboo with the children. And everybody who got on or off his bus felt better because of it. And this is so San Francisco that he was given a Quality of Life award by the city. In our Buddhist, so no matter what kind of work we do, we can do that. We can smile at people. We can be of service. And if we keep that in mind, I think then the little irritations of our work and the challenges and the disappointments can fade away a little bit because we know we're living in vow to be of service to others. And of course, in our Buddhist communities, we find ways to reach out to the world, helping the unhoused, writing to prisoners, opening our doors to anyone who wants to join us, engaging in peaceful protests. I don't know if you're following on YouTube the peace march of Buddhist monks from the south towards Washington, D.C. During our ceremonies, we're invited to speak ancient vows out loud in the company of the Sangha. And when I came to Zen Center in 1975, ragged from the ravages of alcohol abuse, I was seeking refuge from my own ignorant and unskillful behavior. And my teacher, Ajun Linda Cutts, she taught me that in Buddhist practice, the word refuge means to return to our true nature, to return to the person we actually are. I had the misconception that Buddhism would fix me, that would transform me into a better person. But instead, I came to find that practice could help clear away the fog of addiction and the distraction of alcohol abuse and my unskillful and self-destructive behavior. Not to become a better person, but to fully embody who I already am, to return to my own true nature, the person that the world needs me to be. I got sober the month I went back to school to get my teaching credential, and I knew that I had this moment of clarity that I could not teach children and be worthy of them and continue to drink. And luckily they had meetings on campus where I went to school. But still, it wasn't until I entered the rooms of recovery in 1985 that my Buddhist practice really began to bloom. because I was finally being honest about my drinking. At that point, my drinking had been intermittent for five. I didn't drink the first 5 years of my practice, and started again just intermittently and for kind of secret drinking for 5 years, which was excruciating. And I had to become honest about the effect on myself and other people about my drinking. And to learn, I knew in my guts that I was blocking my own life force with that. Katagiri Roshi helped us at Zen Center after Suzuki Roshi died, and he would say, "Let the flower of your life force bloom. Let the flower of your life force bloom." And when we're trapped in addiction, it's hard, if not impossible, to let the flower of our life force bloom. The three refuges in Buddhism can be seen as a kind of vow. I take refuge in Buddha as the perfect teacher. I take refuge in Dharma as the perfect teaching. I take refuge in Sangha as the perfect life. These are the three jewels of Buddhism: Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. So taking refuge in Buddha. I often wonder when newcomers come to Zen Center and join us in the Buddha Hall, and we do full prostrations in front of a statue of the Buddha, if they think, are we worshiping a graven image? Are we worshiping this guy? And of course, we don't see the Buddha as an all-knowing and protective deity. Although he does help me find a parking place now and then when I ask him to help me. But when I say I take refuge in Buddha, I think of resting in Buddha's warm hand. We study the Buddha's life and his teachings, and I think his story is compelling because it's our story. Buddha had a privileged upbringing and was protected from the suffering in life, but when he was able to leave his compound and go out into the village, he saw in real life sickness, old age, and death, the truth of impermanence. And I think most of us who come to Buddhism come after a very profound experience of impermanence, when things that we believed in and trusted have been ripped out from underneath us. And the Buddha saw those things and he experienced impermanence, but he also saw a sadhu, a holy man, a practitioner. And he left home and began to seek the truth for himself. And when he sat down under the Bodhi tree, Mara visited him with temptations and distractions and beautiful dancing girls and platters of fragrant food. And finally, the Buddha touched the ground and he lifted one hand to the sky to affirm his inherent right to wake up. Mara is saying, "Who do you think you are?" And he's saying, "I have the right and the fundamental ability to wake up." And this is our model. He's not someone we worship. He's a teacher that provides an example. And we have lived Buddha's life. We have questioned the truths we grew up with. We have left home. And we have, if we've stepped onto the path of recovery, had that enlightenment experience, that we need to leave that behind if we're going to go forward in our lives. So I love the Buddha's story. Taking refuge in Dharma, we take refuge in Dharma as the Buddha's teachings, but also, as Suzuki Roshi said, things as it is. Somebody said to him, "Don't you mean things as they are?" And he said, "No, things as it is." And I think he was speaking both of the oneness of everything and the multiplicity of everything, things as it is. So we study the sutras and the teachings, but also this present moment is our best teacher. Every moment, everyone we meet is a teacher. Even those people who afflict us the most are our teachers. Taking refuge in Sangha, of course, is taking refuge in community, our fellow practitioners who can inspire and support us as we find our way. It's so healing for us in recovery to be around people who want what we want. And that's what we find in our Buddhist community too, people who want to walk the path along with us. The people who are in our sanghas, but also in the other circles of community that we rely on, our friends, our family, We belong to many different sanghas. I don't think that living vow is subscribing to some set of rules or expectations from the outside, but being true to ourselves, returning to our true nature. So, and we do that best among people who want what we want and can help us develop. So living in vow really just means finding out what is important to us and committing ourselves to living from that vow. Many of us take a vow every day to stay sober just for today. And maybe this is one way of staying on the path to be true to ourselves. We make this impossible vow in Buddhism. Beings are numberless. I vow to save them. But maybe, just maybe, every time we smile at a stranger or vote, maybe every time we stand at the foot of a redwood tree and look up in awe, every time we sit zazen meditation or chant together, we save all beings. Every time we return to vow, we save ourselves and we save other beings. There was a wonderful quote by Joel Achenbach in the Chronicle years ago. He said, and this is about everyday life, the everyday life we're finally able to enjoy in sobriety. Keep reminding yourself every time you read a book or take a class or write a poem or watch a sunset or teach something to a child, every time you love someone or find something beautiful, every time you advance, however incrementally, the cause of intelligent civilization, every time you pump a little warmth into this big cold universe, you illustrate the real reason we are here. You solve the mystery. You don't need to ask anymore. You know the answer. So he's talking about serving truth, serving beauty, serving others. Mitsu Suzuki was the wife of Suzuki Roshi, who founded the San Francisco Zen Center. And she said that her secret to a long life, because she lived to be over 100, was very simple. Don't hate anyone, walk every day, and have good conversations. And that that is such a simple world, a simple vow to the world, to live from the heart. So we chant ancient vows in Sangha, and vow is also an inside job. It might help us to be true to ourselves if we cultivate a personal vow, looking at our most important values and vowing to live from the heart. And one thing I'd like to suggest today is that you give some thought to what your personal vow is. And it could be the third step prayer. I mean, it could be something that means a lot to you that you've come across, but you could also construct your own vow of the things that are most important to you. What do you want to manifest as you move through the world? And we know from our recovery practice that if we write down our intentions, we're much more likely to realize them. So your own mission statement, your own mission statement for your own personal vow, it should be long enough to encompass your vow, but short enough so that you can recite it to yourself while you're waiting in line at the grocery store. And it was important for me in doing this for myself to encompass my life in recovery, to recognize my life as a teacher, both in Buddhism and a teacher of children, and in creativity. So my personal vow, is very personal and close to my heart. But just to give you a sense of this is how my personal vow begins: to live a sober and awakened life within circles of community, and to open my mind and heart to the world and to infinite possibilities. I taught third grade for 35 years, so I am authorized to give you a homework assignment. And I'd like you to think about this and write down some of the things that are important to you, what you want to bring forth into the world, what you want to keep in the forefront of your daily life as you live from that vow. And I think as we get up from our sitting place and go out in the world to live this vow and to love people who even are very different from us, we are saving all beings and being of benefit to all beings. So living from vow, it's a wonderful way to an antidote really to confront all the crazy stuff we're dealing with all the time in the world without being submerged by the things of the world. So thank you so much for your kind attention. And we do have some time for questions or comments or certainly sharing your personal experience with us. So thank you so much for having me and so much everyone for being here.
Thank you so much, Laura. That was beautiful. And I guess we'll be okay with getting homework. After all, practice is homework and being in the present moment is homework. And I feel like those of us in recovery, we do have a lot of sayings and mantras. And it's like, which ones are the ones that are important to us? Which ones are the ones that we need to continually remind ourselves of? So I really appreciate that. And I will say, I was a Girl Scout. I won't hold that against you, but I was also a Bluebird. So
Oh, wow.
do a good turn daily. That's the Girl Scout quick mantra. So does anyone have any questions? We'd love to hear from people in the group. We're very grateful to have such a large group. You can go onto the bottom of. Well, thanks everyone for being here. I do have a few things just to mention as we close out. Laura, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for your wisdom. We all look forward to reading that book and more books, hopefully, from you in this subject. We did want to announce we have set a date for the Buddhist Recovery Network Summit that is in person this year in 2026 that will be held in Oakland, California, October 2nd through the 4th. So I just on the fly before we started this asked Laura if she would mind showing up for that since it's right around the corner from her. And she said yes. So I can't tell you what's happening there, but I know Laura's going to be there. So you should come. But also, we would again encourage you to give Donna to Laura and Buddhist Recovery Network. We are here for you. We provide a lot of different resources so that when you support Buddhist Recovery Network and Laura, you are helping us to continue this tradition of offering these talks monthly. We will be back again in March, so definitely keep your eye out if you're not subscribed to our newsletter. That's how you can find out who the teacher will be. We invite you to practice generosity via the Donna link. I think Susanna is sharing that in the chat. And you can also check out our YouTube channel if you wanted to catch up on other Academy recordings. Those are all hosted there. We also have a Buddhist Recovery Network podcast. Chris Warner, who is on the call today, is our latest guest that she talks about her recovery journey. And that's an episode that just came out. We also have our Facebook group. You can join our Facebook group, and we encourage you to do so. You do have to answer some questions to keep it safe for everyone, so make sure you do that when you do join the Facebook group. And the next Buddhist Recovery Network Academy will be Sunday, March 1st. And we will let you know who that is in our newsletter, as I said, and you can find out who's coming when you get that. And I would ask Laura, would you like to do a dedication of merit or would you like me to do that?
I'll do it. I'd love to do it. And
Okay.
Can I ask something before we close? Because Chris is saying in the chat that the Venmo that I got for Laura, that it's not working. So could you, Laura, post before you go today? Could you post to the? Oh, okay. Chris says that it works. She added the dash, and now it's okay. So thank you,
well,
Sorry for that.
thank you. And I want to thank you all for your comments in the chat, and your floating icons is really fun, the emojis. All right, let's dedicate the merit. We dedicate the merit of our Buddhist practice and our recovery to all beings in the 10 directions, past, present, and future. We also hold in our hearts the children who are living in the shadow of addiction. May all beings be happy, may they be joyous and live in safety, and may our time together here go out into the world to help bring peace and love and joy to all. Thank you so much. And thank you, Beth and Susanna, for your support.